Remember when games didn't hold your hand and every level felt like a challenge you had to conquer? Yeah, I'm talking about the PlayStation 1. And today, we're diving headfirst into the most underrated, most nostalgic, and straight-up craziest adventure games from that era. From ninjas in the shadows to cursed tombs and toy-sized heroes, you're about to relive the chaos and magic of PS1 adventure classics. Let's go! Before we jump into today's video, quick question. You ever download a classic gem from a totally questionable site that looked like it time-traveled straight out of 2003? You know, pop-ups everywhere, weird file names, and that sinking feeling like, am I downloading a game or a virus? Yeah, me too. That's why I use NordVPN. It doesn't just keep your connection fast and encrypted, it blocks malicious websites, trackers, and protects you from malware while you're out there. How can I put this? Looking for gems. With servers in over 60 countries, you can unlock games, videos, and even sweet regional deals you'd never see otherwise. And the best part? One subscription covers up to 10 devices: PC, phone, tablet, maybe even that dusty old laptop from your emulator days. It's super easy to set up, and using my special link below, you get 73% off plus 3 extra months free. And if for some reason you're not into it, no worries. Within 30 days, you get 100% of your money back. No questions asked. So stop rolling the dice. One sketchy download or fried motherboard could cost more than 20 years of NordVPN. Click the link in the description and pinned comment right now and lock in your deal today. Back in the late 90s, if you were into slash-heavy action and watched afternoon reruns of those sword-swinging shows, chances are you came across a little gem called Xena, the warrior princess on the PS1. Released in 1999, this game didn't try to be some deep, tactical masterpiece. It just wanted you to smash buttons and feel awesome doing it. And honestly, it nailed that. You play as Xena, charging through a third-person hack-and-slash adventure packed with enemies, traps, and those classic oversized bosses. The plot? Simple. You're trying to rescue Gabrielle while tearing through every fool who stands in your way. But don't let the cartoony visuals fool you. This thing gets tough fast. There's a section with a Cyclops that turns into pure survival mode, and if you were a kid back then, it probably wrecked you too. One cool detail most people forget is that Xena's signature chakram isn't just for show. You can actually throw it in combat, steer it midair, and even hit multiple enemies in one go. For a game from 1999, that kind of control over a ranged weapon was pretty wild. It added a whole extra layer to the fights, especially when you timed it just right and cleared a bunch of enemies with a single throw. As you progressed, you could unlock new moves and power-ups by collecting hidden items and completing stages with good performance. These upgrades gave you extra health, stronger attacks, and even improved versions of Xena's combos. The controls are pretty straightforward, but surprisingly responsive for the time. Combat is fast and satisfying, with a nice rhythm once you get the hang of it. The environments shift as you move through the story, keeping things from getting too repetitive. It's not flashy by today's standards, but back in the day, this felt like a full-on episode of the show you could actually play. Xena's game doesn't get brought up much anymore, but for anyone who lived through that era, it was a wild ride and definitely deserves a spot on any list celebrating PS1 adventure games. Spider-Man 2 on the PS1 wasn't just another superhero game. It was a chaotic, punchy, web-slinging follow-up that somehow managed to squeeze a full comic book event into a chunky little disc. Released in 2001, it picked up right where the first game left off, and this time, things got wild fast. Electro's on the loose, powered up and ready to fry everything in sight, and it's up to Spidey to shut it all down. Developed by Vicarious Visions and published by Activision, this sequel didn't reinvent the wheel, but it definitely spun it faster. It kept that mix of action and exploration, but added a bigger cast of villains, tighter levels, and more fluid combat. Bosses like Shocker, Hammerhead, Lizard, and of course Electro brought legit variety to the fights. And instead of just beating enemies and reaching exits, some stages threw in stealth challenges, rescue missions, or even time-based events where you had to stop bombs or save civilians. It added variety without overcomplicating things and kept the pacing tight. And let's talk about the suits. You could unlock different costumes that weren't just cosmetic, they actually gave you new abilities. Stuff like faster healing or unlimited webbing. It gave every run a bit of a personal twist, and that kind of replay value was rare at the time. Another thing that really sold the vibe was the voice acting. It wasn't just some generic lines thrown in, they got solid voice performances that gave every cutscene a fun, over-the-top energy, just like an animated episode. The camera was still kind of stubborn, and some platforming sections felt like a fight against gravity itself. But honestly, that was part of the charm. The energy, the music, the comic-style cutscenes, it all came together in a way that just worked.
Whoa, these sure don't look like Boy Scouts.
He can't take Woody! It's illegal! Go!
It had charm, challenge, and a vibe that made you feel like a kid again. You step into the plastic boots of Buzz Lightyear, blasting through huge environments to save Woody and the rest of the crew, just like in the movie. But here, you're not just watching the adventure, you're living it. What made this one stand out was the level design. Each stage felt massive from a toy's perspective. You're climbing furniture, dodging vacuums, and jetpacking across rooftops. It captured that whole "you're small in a big world" feeling perfectly. The third-person platforming gave you room to explore and figure things out your way. You had to look around, experiment, and really dive into each level. What really added some depth to the gameplay was the upgrade system tied to your laser and jetpack. As you progressed, you could unlock more powerful versions of Buzz's laser, giving you better range and damage to take down tougher enemies. The jetpack, which starts off limited, also gets boosted over time, letting you reach new areas and secrets you couldn't access before. Another cool thing about this game was the boss fights. Each one was tied to a different toy villain, and they weren't just throwaway battles. You had to use your surroundings and think a bit more creatively than just spamming attacks. Whether it was dodging attacks in tight spaces or timing your moves while jumping across shelves, these moments gave the game a fun burst of intensity that broke up the regular platforming. Sure, the PS1 version looked a bit rough around the edges, textures could get pixelated, and the frame rate dipped now and then, but it still delivered. The soundtrack was upbeat, the animations were full of personality, and the controls, while a bit floaty, got the job done. For a licensed game, it had no business being this fun. It was colorful, it was creative, and most of all, it respected the source material. Even today, firing it up brings back that exact feeling of popping in a disc after school and getting lost in a world where toys come to life.
Be careful with that. It's extremely dangerous.
Medieval 2 dropped on the PS1 in 2000, bringing back the undead legend himself, Sir Daniel Fortesque. Yeah, the clumsy knight with no lower jaw. This sequel picked up right after the chaos of the first game, but this time, Sir Daniel's fight against evil takes him straight to a gothic version of Victorian London. New era, same cursed bones. The vibe is darker, the levels are more complex, and the enemies? Way nastier. You've got a bigger arsenal to mess with, new powers to unlock, and a bunch of tricky bosses that really test your timing. The game even added a light combo system to make combat feel a bit more aggressive. It's not the smoothest ride, and the controls can be a little stiff, but the heart of the experience never loses that weird charm. The upgrade system in Medieval 2 doesn't try to overwhelm you with menus or stats, but it still gives you some solid reasons to explore every corner. As you progress, you'll find new weapons and gadgets that not only pack more punch, but also change the way you approach fights. The chalice system is back too, rewarding you for taking out enemies and finding hidden goodies in each level. The more you collect, the more access you get to the Hall of Heroes, where stronger gear and powers are waiting. One of the weirdest but coolest mechanics in the game is when you literally use Dan's own skull as a weapon. Yeah, at one point you can detach his head and toss it like a projectile, or even control it to crawl through small tunnels in tight spaces. It's bizarre, it's hilarious, and it actually opens up some clever puzzle-solving moments. Stuff like this is what made Medieval so unique, mixing dark fantasy with slapstick nonsense in a way only this series could pull off. Visually, it still has that spooky cartoon look that made the original stand out. It's goofy and grim at the same time. And while the first game set the tone, Medieval 2 took things a step further with a better sense of atmosphere, tighter level design, and more story moments sprinkled in between the chaos. It's no wonder fans still talk about this one like it's sacred. It didn't need to be perfect, it just needed to be medieval. And that, it nailed. Hey, if you're enjoying the trip down memory lane, don't forget to drop a like on the video. It really helps more people find this kind of content. And if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next classic we dig up. Thanks for hanging out. Now let's get back to it.
I'll keep an eye out for him. See you later, Crystal.
Sometimes you don't need a complex plot or insane mechanics. You just need a game that feels good to play. Released in 2000 and based on the Disney movie, this one was a total surprise. It didn't try to be a deep platformer or a flashy action game. It just delivered pure, lighthearted fun. You take control of one of the puppies, running through colorful levels trying to rescue your lost siblings from Cruella's twisted traps. The game leans heavily on exploration, with tons of collectibles hidden across wide, open stages. It's simple, but that's the charm. You could actually switch between the two main pups, Oddball and Domino, and each had their own little quirks. Oddball was the more agile one, great for quick jumps in tight spaces, while Domino felt a bit heavier, but had stronger attacks and could handle tougher enemies better. The controls are tight, the visuals are super cartoony, and everything has that Saturday morning energy. Another cool touch was how interactive some of the environments were. You'd knock over stacks of boxes, bounce off trampolines, or even use little gadgets scattered around the level to open secret paths. Some areas had hidden rooms tucked behind destructible walls or moving platforms that would only appear after solving a puzzle. Each stage feels like a mini playground, filled with secrets, puzzles, and just enough challenge to keep you engaged without getting frustrated. The sound design is cheerful, the animations are clean, and there's a sense of polish you wouldn't expect from a movie tie-in. Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster was pure chaos in the best way. Released for the PS1 in 2000, this beat-em-up throws you straight into a wild kung fu brawl from the moment you hit start. You play as a delivery guy who just wants to drop off a package at a Shaolin temple. But of course, things go sideways fast. Your grandfather gets kidnapped, and suddenly you're clearing rooms full of thugs with spin kicks and flying punches. What really sets this game apart is that Jackie Chan himself did the motion capture. Every flip, dodge, and combo feels snappy and real, because it is based on the actual movements of a martial arts legend. And trust me, this game doesn't go easy on you. Enemies hit hard and you're constantly moving, blocking, and reacting just to stay alive. One wrong move and half your health is gone. As you progress, the game starts handing you new combos and abilities, and that's where things really open up. It's not some deep RPG system or anything, but the upgrades you get make a huge difference in how you fight. Suddenly you're pulling off advanced moves that juggle enemies or knock them into walls. The visuals lean into a cartoonish style, with smooth animation and exaggerated action. But it works. It feels like you're inside a classic Jackie Chan movie where the action never stops and the stunts get crazier with every level. Even the level design helps sell the vibe, with rooftops, alleyways, and indoor stages packed with props you can use to bash enemies. Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster is one of those hidden gems that didn't need a complex story.
I am very angry with you.
at the target and practice by throwing 3 shurikens.
Back in the PS1 days, stealth wasn't exactly a popular genre. But then came Tenchu 2, and it flipped the script. Released in 2000, this was one of those rare games that made sneaking around feel more badass than charging in with swords blazing. You step into the shadows as a young ninja, either Rikimaru or Ayame, both members of the Azuma clan. The game dives into their early missions before the events of the first Tenchu, adding depth to characters fans already knew. But the real magic is in the gameplay. You're not just running missions, you're stalking through rooftops, clinging to walls, timing every move to perfection while patrolling guards past just inches away. The sound design is minimal, the music fades in and out, and every footstep feels like it could be your last. There's this constant tension that keeps you locked in, especially if you're aiming for that perfect stealth rating. And if you mess up, the game doesn't hold back. Combat is clunky on purpose. It wants you to learn patience. Tenchu 2 also had a surprisingly deep upgrade system tucked into all that stealth. After each mission, your performance gets ranked, and based on how well you did stuff like staying hidden, avoiding kills, or collecting all the items, you unlock new tools and gear. We're talking smoke bombs, caltrops, poison rice, even grappling hooks that open up new ways to move through a level. What really stood out for its time was the level editor. Yeah, on a PS1 game. You could actually build your own ninja missions and challenge your friends, which was insane back then. Tomb Raider wasn't just another action game, it was survival with style. You didn't get markers, glowing paths, or pop-up hints. The game dropped you into ruins, caves, and tombs, and pretty much said, figure it out. And that's what made it so damn good. You played as Lara Croft, a badass explorer who moved with tank-like precision. One wrong jump or missed grab, and it was game over. The puzzles were brutal, the platforming demanded perfect timing, and the enemies could wreck you if you weren't ready. But the real pressure came from the silence. No music, no dialogue, just the sound of your footsteps echoing through ancient halls. That alone was enough to make your heart race. Graphically, the game pushed the PS1 hard. Yeah, it was blocky, sure, but the level design and scale were ambitious for the time. On PC it looked cleaner, but the soul of the experience stayed the same. And the difficulty in Tomb Raider didn't come from cheap tricks or impossible bosses. It came from how unforgiving everything was. Save points were rare, health pickups were limited, and one wrong move could send you back 20 minutes. Some puzzles had solutions that weren't just hidden, they were borderline cryptic, forcing you to backtrack, experiment, and sometimes just brute force your way through. Combat wasn't about flashy combos either. It was raw, stiff, and punishing, especially when you were low on ammo or stuck in tight spaces with multiple enemies. Across the original trilogy on PS1, that formula held strong. They didn't hold your hand. They expected you to fail, get frustrated, and still keep pushing forward. That's why Tomb Raider earned its spot as one of the most iconic franchises on the console. If you managed to finish one of these games back in the day, respect. You earned it. Back in the early 2000s, most people weren't expecting a Disney movie tie-in to hit this hard. It went way beyond the usual paint-by-numbers kids game. This was a full-on platformer with action, challenge, and a surprising amount of charm packed into every level. Lilo was all about agility and clever movement, while Stitch could unleash chaos with laser guns and brute force. The game starts out nice and easy, but don't get too comfortable. Later stages throw in moving platforms, timed jumps, and objectives that force you to explore every corner of the map. You'd be collecting stuff like vinyl records, cameras, and communication devices to unlock bonus content. And yeah, some of that content was actually worth the trouble. The environments are colorful and detailed for a PS1 title. giving off that tropical island vibe with a slightly cartoonish twist. It's one of those games that sticks with you, not because it reinvented the genre, but because it knew exactly what it wanted to be: fun, fast, and packed with personality. Back in 2000, Konami dropped a little PS1 title based on one of the biggest box office hits at the time. The Mummy wasn't trying to reinvent the genre, but if you were a fan of the movie, this game hit that sweet nostalgia button hard. You take control of Rick O'Connell, running through ancient tombs, solving light puzzles, dodging traps, and blasting undead enemies that just keep coming. It throws you into 15 levels, each one packed with that classic Egyptian adventure vibe. Hidden rooms, cursed relics, crumbling ruins, it's all here. One thing that really stands out is how the game rewards exploration. Some of those ancient tombs hide secret passageways that lead to bonus weapons, extra lives, or even full-on shortcuts through the level. Now, the gameplay is basic: third-person movement, item collecting, and some light combat. But the camera? That's where things get messy. It barely listens to you. Sometimes it swings into walls, other times it just gives up entirely. You'll fight the camera almost as much as the enemies, but still, it's hard not to respect what the Mummy game was trying to do. It captured that old-school cinematic energy from the film. The soundtrack adds tension, and the visuals, for the time, hold up decently with some solid lighting in those crypt environments. It might be clunky, but it's a perfect time capsule of when movie tie-in games were everywhere, and if you played it back then, chances are you've still got a soft spot for it. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these adventure gems hit you the hardest with nostalgia? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I always read through them. And hey, if you had a good time with the video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.